Okay. Test. Oh, there we go. Awesome. Let's get rocking and rolling.
Let's do it. It's too cold to stand here.
Yeah, you guys have the door open.
Test.
Just tell me, okay? All right. Just wave when I can get started. You okay? Okay. All right. Welcome to our series in Almcrook Seventh-day Adventist Church Lifestyle Center, where we're trying to educate you in better, healthier lifestyle in every way. And today, you can see I'm dressed up sporty. We're going to have exercises as a topic from expert, my favorite exercise trainer, Chille. He's a certified personal trainer, and also he's currently in the school, the chiropractic school, so he's going to be doctor soon. I really like his approach. He was a former soccer player. Before we started introducing him, he said, we started talking about Serbia, how they're performing in the World Cup and other countries. He's an amazing soccer player, and he has carved out of his time now to come here to teach us a little bit in theory about exercise, but also in some practical manners, how we can incorporate this into our lifestyle. So Daniel, please come here, and we will be delighted to gain from your knowledge.
Can everyone hear me? Everyone at home, hello. Thank you, Ray, for the wonderful introduction. Thank you for the invitation as well. I'm humbled to be here. And I hope everyone today is just going to enjoy this. The purpose is to have fun. Exercise is a science, but it should be fun. It should be seen as a reward and a tool to prioritize optimal health. So the name of my facility is TBD Fitness and Holistic Health. We have a couple different locations throughout Illinois. We see people from all walks of life, all ages, all demographics. And we find a lot of success with people who are looking to make a change and to implement exercise and a healthier lifestyle into their routine. All right, pointing over here. Goal today, as I just alluded to, is to create change, whether it's physical, whether it's mental. I just hope each of you can derive one thing that you can take home and apply tomorrow. So I want each of you to think about how you can integrate perhaps something different, something unique, something that you can make your own to incite change into your lives. That's me, for better or worse. So I take exercise science very seriously. I think it's critical to integrate that as part of our daily routine. It's important to optimize the physical, right? Here, many of you, we're optimizing the spiritual component. The physical, I think, is very much equal to that. And so exercise should become part of your routine. So this is the philosophy we've created within our organization. Spend. How do we spend our lives? Okay? Each letter stands for something. So spend is the acronym of spending your life. The first is the foundation, S, sleep and stress. So much of the talk today is going to circle around exercise, but it's critical to understand all these other components if you want to live a healthy, wealthy life. So the foundation is sleep and stress, critical to balance those two. Okay? Stress turns on all inflammatory pathways in the body. Sleep is how the body restores and repairs itself. So if you don't get those two things right, the rest is difficult to really change. Next is P. Also critical part of the foundation, right above probably stress and sleep, but P is for play and purpose. And if you see how kids move around in their daily lifestyle, they laugh about, on average, 400 times a day. Adults, we laugh about 14 times a day, okay? So play is a critical part to integrate within our lifestyle. And the more you can do it, the more you're gonna find just a zest in your life. Purpose is also essential. Define what's your meaning. What is the reason you wake up every morning? What is the root of your existence? Next, E, which is going to be the primary discourse of today, is exercise. So taking care of the body physically. It's exponentially more important as we continue to age. N, nourish. So nutrition, exercise and nutrition naturally go hand in hand, but in general, healthy eating should be a way of life. And last, D is donate, or the principle of service or giving back. I think that's a core component, and this is why we developed what I believe is to be a way of kind of framing how to balance your existence. And during this discourse, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. Those online as well. I love questions, love to dive deep if you have anything you're interested for me to discuss further. So why exercise? Top 5 leading causes of fatality we have here. Cancer. It's estimated that 1 in 2 men and 1 in 3 females are going to unfortunately pass from cancer, CVD, cardiovascular disease, or heart attack. Next, diabetes. We have an obesity epidemic here, and what's interesting is that diabetes has become one of the most expensive diseases to treat. And it's estimated that 1 out of every $4 in the US healthcare system is spent on diabetes alone. That's roughly about $237 billion a year, strictly on diabetes, and the root of that primarily is obesity compiled with unhealthy eating. That's something we can fix. Yeah? We can control what we put in our mouth. We can control our daily movement. We can control our habits. We can control how much we exercise. So all of this is more or less within our control, right? Obesity, underscoring this in particular, can lead to cancer. Obesity can lead to increase in cardiovascular disease, can increase heart attacks, can increase Alzheimer's, can increase stroke. All-cause mortality increases every 5 centimeters of increase above your BMI, which is measured at your waistline. The next, Alzheimer's, and lastly, stroke. And the reason why I have this up first is because we can change all of this with exercise. All of this is within our control, as I reiterated. So, what if there was a pill to prevent all of this? How many of you would take that pill? Probably all of us, right? More money is spent on Alzheimer's drugs than on any else, and we've gotten nowhere closer to find a cure. But what if there was a better way? What if there was a better pill? What if there was a pill in general that could reduce all-cause mortality? And there is. And what is that called? In my humble opinion, exercise, right? It prevents everything that I just spoke of. Everything. It's that simple. So let's go into the next one. But before we do, we're going to play a little game. And I need a number from any one of you between 1 and 100. 27. Okay, 27 it is. So every time we see an image on the screen, we're going to perform some sort of movement, okay? And we're going to do 27 repetitions. So we're going to have fun today. So here we have a picture on the screen. So we're going to start with 27 repetitions looking at our feet. Okay, feet are often overlooked within the body, and especially with exercise. Feet are critical to proprioception. Feet is how the body feels the world, right? We see through our eyes, but we feel through our feet ground up. And most people, unfortunately, especially as we age, we have pain in our body, whether that's in our feet, in our knees, in our hips, working up the kinetic chain. If you can fix your feet, a lot of the problems upstream will naturally go away. So we're going to start with our feet today. So I invite all of you guys to take off your shoes. I'll do the same thing. And we're just going to do some foot curls, okay? So I'll leave this up to you. Do you want to do 27 each foot or 13 each foot? 13? Okay. We have a bunch of overachievers here, I see. All right, so feet off, and we're just going to start curling our toes. Now, I want you to try to curl individually, okay? Too often, our feet are very constricting, and they're leading to pain. We can stand, you can sit, either one, however you're comfortable. This first one, completely up to you. But what we are going to do is some foot curls. So I invite you to curl the toes in, almost like you're kind of squeezing the arch, right? So a lot of plantar muscles on the bottom of our feet. The goal is to work them, exercise them. Why? Because they typically atrophy since we're in footwear all day. Not only are we in footwear, we're typically in an improper footwear, yeah? We lost the art of walking barefoot. So we're just curling our toes, and we're doing about 13 each foot. No right or wrong way right now. It's just kind of moving, assessing, feeling. A lot of you probably have neglected your feet. So just kind of curling the toes around. And I invite you to try to do one at a time as well, spreading your toes kind of in a wave-like fashion, one at a time, working up and working down. You should feel the bottom of your feet muscles contracting, okay? I'm telling you right now, something as simple like this is really going to help provide the stability and foundation that your body needs. Okay? Just a few more reps here. Squeeze. And that's good. I should probably highlight where we're looking at feet is shoes. I always encourage people to find shoes with a nice wide toe box, okay? Try to minimize any sort of arch supports, because in fact that's weakening the bottom of your feet. So you want to find a shoe that's wide enough to fit your foot comfortably. Sorry? Especially with people with flat feet. What happens is the bottom of our feet muscles can atrophy just like any other muscle. If you don't use it, you lose it. Now, arch supports are a crutch, sometimes imperative, but we should be able to strengthen the bottom of our feet to where then we're walking barefoot comfortably with any foot, high arch, low arch, normal arch. Yeah? Excellent question. Okay. Oh, there's plenty. So a lot of them are overseas. Vivo Barefoot out of the UK. There's Lems, actually, I believe, who are in Colorado, and Zero, Xero, are two made in the US. These ones are Field Grounds that are made out of Germany. There's Duck Feet out of the Netherlands. That's four offhand, yeah. Sure. So the question was, what brand footwear do you suggest that has a wide toe box? The ones that I'm currently wearing are Field Grounds. I really like those because they make kind of sleek, stylish, casual footwear. Otherwise, there's Lems, Lems. There's Zero, Xero. There's Vivo Barefoot in the UK that develop a lot more for training. I believe now New Balance and Vivrams, they have a lot of barefoot feet as well. That transition should happen over time, though. People who have a big heel support or cushion, usually you're going to find it painful to migrate into bare footwear, but that should happen over time. That should be the goal. But you can start slowly. So start walking barefoot on just on the ground outside. It's very nourishing, very healing. Yes?
How do you feel about the shoes now that are designed like with toes separated, that are almost like
Yeah, so that's Vivo
They are.
Vivrams, I believe, are the name of that shoe. I like them a lot, right? The goal is our toes should not be confined, right? So our toes similar to our fingers, right? Imagine walking like this all day. That's what's happening in your shoes, right? Our shoes are confining our toes. Is that natural? Does this look normal to you? No, probably not. So our toes should be able to have room, right? We kind of evolved into this modern footwear that's very confined and restricted. And unfortunately, that has caused a lot of people to have problems. Now, the toe shoes allows for the separation, but keep in mind is as we evolved from walking on earth onto concrete, our joints are not supposed to sustain that kind of an impact. So that's where the cushion at the bottom, or the support of the foot, the shoe rather, is integral. But ideally is we're walking and spending more time in nature than on concrete or any unnatural ground, right? So in certain circumstances, certain footwear is appropriate where you need some support in the joint, but ideally, again, you're transitioning into a more kind of wider toe box shoe that has little support. Another picture. Awesome. Okay, next exercise. So this one we are going to be standing, and we are going to do 27 calf raises. Ready? So how I want to do this actually, we're going to target different heads of the gastrocnemius. So when you're exercising and performing calf raises, standing is targeting gastrocnemius. It's more of a fast twitch muscle fiber versus seated. If you perform that, it's going to be targeting and biasing the soleus, which sits underneath and lower to the gastroc. So we are going to be starting, I want 9, 9, and 9. Okay? We'll do 9 with our toes wide. Okay? And we're going to come all the way to the top and feel a nice contraction all the way to the top. Now, when performing these movements, I want you to think where you want to feel it. Yeah? So the calf muscle in the back of the foot, below the knee, is really where you want to feel this. Anything that you perform, and this is, I think, more a metaphor for life, but do things with intention, right? So when you're performing these, think about getting inside that muscle and allowing that muscle to squeeze and grow and strengthen. So we're going to do 4 more here. So again, the toes here are, facing out. 2 more. Really get a good squeeze at the top. Last one here. And now we're going to go toes straight. 9 here. So when you're coming this, think about driving the ankles as far forward as you can. Really drive to the top of the balls of your foot. You really want that peak contraction. Too often when you're performing a calf raise, people will stop short of the top. You're missing out on that top portion. So really try to come as tall as you can and drive those ankles as far forward as you can. Really feel that squeeze in the back of your feet here. Let's go 2 more. And then now we're going to go toes in. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. You're going to hold on to your partner. Put your hand on his shoulder. Just don't push each other over, though. Yep. So, great question. People that have difficulty with balance, definitely you can assist, right? That's not cheating. Now, what I want you to think about too, because that's a great question, is core. So when we contract our core, we're going to find more stability. So you want to think about squeezing your abdomen as you're performing much of this to increase stability so you don't topple over. Let's go 2 more here. And by alternating and moving your toes in versus out, you're biasing the different portion of the gastrocnemius. Good job. All right, what is exercise? So the dictionary defines exercise as an activity that enhances or maintains physical fitness and overall health and wellness. I define exercise as movement, but there's definitely different degrees to that, yeah? And we're going to now look at what kind of degrees, what I mean by that. I associate exercise with training, 2 different things, but I'm coming from the lens of an athlete, so keep that in mind. To me, exercise is walking, right? You go for a walk outside. Training is a little bit different. There's a goal, there's more of a purpose there, and there is a lot more benefit derived when you think about exercise as training. Our bodies are our temples, yeah? We have one body. Why not use it to its full capacity? Why not pursue peak potential, right? Integrating that within a healthy routine that speaks to you. Everyone has a different goal, and that's awesome. That's what makes us unique. So exercise programs should be customized based on the needs and goals of the individual. Within our facility, we start with a structural balance assessment. What does that mean? It means we're identifying weaknesses and imbalances to prevent injury and build strength. Based upon the results of our assessment, we then customize a program. So typically when you're looking at exercise and you're serious about exercise, you want to start training, that becomes a way of life. You want to find somebody, usually, that can ideally customize something based upon your strength imbalances, based upon your goals, based upon your lifestyle, right? Training in your program, we look at all these different parameters to kind of fix what you need. So someone who has pain, they need to start with some sort of rehabilitation and corrective exercises. Yeah, someone who's an athlete, they need to train for a certain sport, right? So that goes again to the differences in our individual needs and goals. All right, so next is how do we train? I think, again, I speak from a biased perspective. People often now just go to YouTube and Google and figure out, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And Dr. Google gives you the answer. Perhaps that's a good start. But my philosophy is we can probably do better. So at our facility, we look at different parameters to really dive deep into optimizing your healthy habit. So we look at neurotransmitter dominance. We're looking at assessing genetics. We're looking at fiber type. We're looking at different lifestyle factors. We're looking at cycle, because for women need to exercise sometimes differently than men, also depending upon their cycle. And then also speaks to nutrition. So exercise is really a science. Going back to the neurotransmitter portion, we use the Braverman test to reflect whether you're dopamine dominant, acetylcholine dominant, GABA dominant, serotonin dominant, and then we can supplement for deficiencies. Looking at your genetics, there's certain predispositions for people, whether you should be training for maximal strength versus hypertrophy, and then how does that differentiate depending on where the goal is long term. Fiber type, fast versus slow twitch muscle fibers, training 10% within this mean to potentiate genetic expression. Lifestyle, looking at stress, sleep, location. Here's an interesting one. Zip code determines gene code. So our environment determines what genes are expressed how and when, right? So if we're living in Chicago and there's not much sun versus in the Dominican Republic or Florida during this time of year, how does that differ things and determine our carbohydrate tolerance, for example? Women's cycle and estrogen profile. Here's an interesting one. Did you know that women have more testosterone as a ratio to estrogen versus men in relation to totals? And there's probably an evolutionary need for this. Exercise can bolster those healthy levels. And as healthy levels of estrogen are critical as it signals bone remodeling through the formation of osteoclasts, this is critical as women age, especially post-menopause, when risk for osteopenia and osteoporosis heighten. How can we mitigate all of this? Yes, there you go. It's always in our control. So what kind of exercise do I see as best? And again, in my humble, biased point of view, strength. So strength training reigns supreme, okay? The stronger you are, probably the healthier you'll age, right? Imagine someone who is unfortunately aging and becoming weak and frail. They have a high risk of falling, high risk of hip fracture, which leads to a high risk of death. the stronger you are, the healthier you'll age. It's typically that simple. So the first one here I wanted to look at was increases in mitochondrial density and biogenesis. So mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. We need them to be strong as we age. There is a myth that lifting heavy will provide or lead to bulking of individuals, especially in females. And I'll show with one of my before and afters why this is fundamentally erroneous. Lifting heavy is key to stimulate bone production, to stimulate collagen production, to stimulate stem cell production. It's in our DNA, and if we don't use it, we lose it. When we weight train, our body releases microRNA that travels through the blood to the fat cells that take up to release what's called miR-1, which targets protein that inhibits our body to be resistant to fat. This drives fat to release fat when epinephrine releases, which happens during resistance training. So this is why resistance training, weight training, strength training is so critical, because it's going to accelerate fat loss, right? We live in an age, unfortunately, where people are obese, as I alluded to primarily, and the goal is to reduce body adiposity, so we reduce inflammation, we lead healthier, stronger lives. And that's how we do that's how we increase our fat burning effect.
Question for you.
Yeah.
So could you talk a little bit about maybe the differences between the kinds of strength training people could do, like if they're doing resistance training with weights, or if they're more interested in perhaps something like yoga where it's more so body weight instead of added weight?
Yeah, so I'm going to touch upon that later in this discussion. Excellent question. But to answer it now it goes back to our goals, right? So everyone has kind of different goals. But to pursue what I consider is optimal health and wellness, optimal longevity, there needs to be some component of strength. And strength is typically as defined by weightlifting, right? So whether you're integrating weights once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times a week, depending on your schedule, you want to incorporate some form of resistance training. So whether it's bands, whether it's chains, whether it's dumbbells, whether it's barbells, some sort of weight bearing to increase the mitochondrial density, the powerhouse of the cell. So all metabolic disease takes a hit on our mitochondria. And when we strength train, our mitochondria create 600% greater energy efficiency. That's a lot. Okay? A lot of that is not derived from these other activities such as yoga. Not suggesting that it has a less effect. It's just that's a different effect on the body, a different purpose. Right? During intensive exercise, ATP production increases 1,000%. Okay? These are all benefits derived when we begin to lift heavy. Lifting heavy, but lifting safely too. So I alluded to the fat burning effect. Strength training increases lean muscle, which has a higher metabolic demand. The higher metabolic demand, the more calories we begin to burn at rest. And that's why we begin to burn more fat at rest. There is a paracrine effect that happens when we lift heavy. This is key to shifting our body into enhanced fat burning state, as I mentioned, for exercise-induced fat loss, which sometimes can be enhanced in a fasted state. So now connecting nutrition and exercise. The more skeletal muscle we build, the more body will burn fat, and the more the body will sensitize or resensitize insulin. And this is key since insulin is a fat storage hormone. So going back now to, as I spoke about, diabetes and obesity, the question is how quickly we can reverse this, and we can through this tool here. Reduction of fat will reduce inflammation systemically, which in turn will reduce risk for all disease. Questions on that? Adenosine triphosphate. So ATP is the byproduct. It's what the mitochondria create for energy. And I'm going to speak about that a little bit later too. but it's how you make energy. And strength training, I think, really, really enhances that effect. But beyond what I think, that's what the literature indicates as well. All right, so a little bit more distinct strength training. What other benefits can be derived? So the first is immunity. So when we exercise, we can flush bacteria out of our lungs and our airways. This is shown to increase our white blood cell count. It increases also natural killer cells, and there's a 43% reduction of death from COVID. So a couple of years back, COVID's still relevant, but a couple of years back, there was little spoken about preventative medicine, right? It was more kind of sick care, making sure you wash your hands, cover your mouth, stay at home. Little was spoken to, hey, can we bolster immunity? Perhaps can we take vitamin D or get time out in the sun? Can we try to reduce stress? Can we exercise? Yes? This is a very, very, very low-hanging fruit that's within our control. Looking at microbial health, so there's more lactobacillus rhamnosus, which facilitates GABA production, helps the body actually relax. There's improved expression of Enterococcus faecalis bacteria, which modulates immune activation. So it's suggested that our immunity resides in the gut. Here's the connection between exercise and gut health. Recovery. The more the body is adapted burning fat, the more healthier state typically we'll get into. It allows the body to become more resilient to stress buffering cortisol post-training too. So we live in a very kind of fast-paced, go lifestyle. Cortisol usually is typically high, which is our stress hormone. That will turn on all inflammatory pathways in the body. We want to alleviate that, buffer that with exercise. Now, exercise is also a stress, but there's a hormetic response there that each time the body gets a little bit stronger, each time the body can fight what you're dealing with a little bit better. We find there's a lot of enhanced sleep with exercise. Why? So going back to ATP, as you inquired previously, as adenosine builds up, which is the byproduct of ATP, which is one of the reasons why I suggest we refrain from coffee in the afternoon, because adenosine, or rather coffee, will block the receptor site and fit right in the receptor site of coffee, for all you coffee lovers in the afternoon. As adenosine builds up, primarily from exercise and then continuing on dayward, a lot of people express a lot better sleep at night, whether that's sleep latency, sleep duration, and just overall sleep quality. We also see an immense decrease in blood pressure. Okay? This is something you can correct simply sometimes with exercise, right? Yes, it's critical to balance everything that I spoke to earlier about our acronym with SPEND, but exercise is such an easy tool to reduce a lot of these inflammatory markers. Looking at mental health, often overlooked. So exercise increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotropic factor. Exercise increases VEGF. So one hallmark sign of aging is a decrease in VEGF, which is vascular endothelial growth factor. Exercise prevents this decrease, okay? Another component is neuroplasticity. So looking at the increase in BDNF, we can grow new neurons in the brain. Exercise can rewire new connections. So looking at mental health and the reduction of anxiety and depression, here's another tool in your control that you can utilize to help combat this. No pills required. It's kind of cool. Going down the rabbit hole of mental health, Here is a nice graph speaking to that. So long-term impact of exercise versus medication on depression. And we can see the benefits derived from exercise. So exercise produces changes in the parts of the brain that regulate stress and anxiety. It can also increase brain sensitivity for the hormones serotonin and norepinephrine, which relieves feelings of depression. This study in particular is looking at 83 individuals over 16 weeks and 6 months post-treatment, suggesting that exercise alone, the exercise-only group, derived the greatest benefit and smallest relapse in depression. We often practice sick medicine here, and unfortunately globally, but perhaps let's practice preventative medicine. And because there's a picture, we're going to do another exercise. All right, so this time I can have you stand again. So we're going to do some tibialis work, often very overlooked in most people's regimen, but I like a lot, and really helps with athletes in increasing vertical. But for today's purposes, so all we're going to do is 27 times, all you're going to do is lift your toes up, and it's that simple. Okay, so really drive, think about bringing the toes all the way up to the sky. Hold your partner if you need stability, so we don't topple over here, but really just think about driving your toes all the way up as high as you can. And we're going to do that 27 times, because that's the lucky number today. So remember, intent here. So I want you to feel right kind of in front of your shin, that muscle contracting. Okay? So keep going here. Now, if any of you are cramping during this, typically that's a sign of dehydration. Could be an electrolyte imbalance, but make sure that you get plenty of water after this. Water is another interesting discourse that we speak to with all our clients very seriously. I try to avoid any sort of plastics in my life, so make sure you get some good, clean water. What number are we at here? Because I feel mine on fire. Let's do another 6 more. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and done. Awesome. Maybe we're learning some new muscles today with you guys too. All right, short and long-term changes. Short-term, implementing strategies that build routine. Thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become habits, and habits become routine. So think about that. The stories that we tell ourselves eventually becomes our truth. People say, oh, I don't have time for exercise, I can't do this. Those are very limiting self-beliefs. We can accomplish more than we even know. Yeah. And it's important to start small, but it's important to start somewhere, right? And tell yourself you can, and be humbled by the journey, but take each day as an opportunity to start. How is this? How can this be? How can you help this? How can you assist it? How can you keep yourself compliant? Find a partner or a trainer, right? Compliance and accountability always increases success. Here at the congregation, perhaps you can start with a group class weekly. We prioritize spiritual health, but how do we prioritize our physical health, as I mentioned before? So find a partner, hire a trainer, whatever speaks to you, but go about it in a way that you're bringing someone along, because again, the studies indicate that that's going to increase compliance. So we're more likely to do it if someone is keeping us accountable, or if we're doing some things together. And make sure you make it achievable. What does that mean is, for example, someone comes to me, hey, Daniel, I want to lose 60 pounds. Awesome. How long do you want to lose this weight? Oh, I have about, 6 weeks before I go on my vacation. Okay, well, we're probably not going to lose 60 pounds in 6 weeks unless I start cutting off body parts, all right? Make it achievable. So define expectations. Sometimes it doesn't have to be so crazy. Start with, okay, I want to lose 5 pounds by the end of this month, right? It's something that, you can look forward to, but you can also achieve. Whether you want to gain muscle as well. Okay, I want to put on 2 pounds of muscle in 4 weeks. Awesome, let's do it. Make it a goal that you can achieve. And then set systems to support these goals. So tracking food is one metric. How do you track exercise progression? These are small things, but they add up, and they will provide a system for you that sets you up for success. Long-term periodization. So that's when we kind of dive into the art of exercise science, especially with athletes, but definitely with everyone in general. Because what happens is if you're doing the same thing indefinitely, you're going to see the body plateau. So you're not going to make the progress that you're probably looking for. So variety is the spice of life. There's a reason for that, but there should be some sort of periodization to your exercise. That's why if you go on to, again, Google or YouTube, awesome, but what does your progression look long term? You want metabolic adaptation to continuously happen. And this is what I speak to when I say we want to live a long, healthy, strong life, but we need to do that in a way that we are balancing kind of the different sectors and then continuously building on each other. So make it sustainable. That's the long-term component. And generational health, and I think that's one that's really, really often overlooked. People speak about generational wealth. What about generational health? Yeah? Kids are very receptive to what our parents do. So if mom is obese, there's a 120% greater chance that the child will express genetic markers for fat storage. So try to be a model for what you stand for. Your kids, and I'm a father, my youngest one is 3 months old, so I try to serve as a model for what I believe in. So when I show those pictures of me, it's not to boast about my physique, I just try to serve as a model for things I believe in, and I think the people around you will see that and they'll derive a lot of respect, and we can build off each other, right? Each of us have our own unique skill sets, right? In our room today, there's things that you guys know about that I don't know about, and I'm eager to learn and grow from everyone else, right? So use each other as a tool, as an accountability guide, and together we can grow stronger. Community. Building community around a healthy lifestyle and providing an adequate support system to accelerate results. So this goes back to the accountability portion. But what's, I think, equally important, and what I try to do at each of one of my locations, is really try to build a sense of community. And I'm sure you guys have a core community here. That's awesome. People typically live the longest with a core community. So again, going back to utilize your community here to help each other grow. So within our community, we have different kind of offerings. So fitness for kids, I think it's critical for kids to start exercising. It was debunked years ago that kids shouldn't weightlift and it'll stunt growth. That has long been disproven. The dose always matters. In fact, it sets them up for better insulin sensitivity and muscle development as they age. Going on to personal training, that's one of our bread and butter, and I always encourage people to find a trainer, one, because it keeps you accountable, but two, exercise is a science. And I think that's often overlooked when people just go onto YouTube and just do kind of whatever exercise they look to that day. Again, nothing necessarily wrong with that, but what we see is that over the long term, there's going to be plateaus in adaptation. So you want to have a system, because once you have a system, there's no chance for failure, right? You set yourself up for success. By building a culture around optimizing health and longevity, we strengthen bonds with our peers, and it goes to the lifestyle factor. We need to make it fun. Fitness is not the solution, it's our evolution, okay? People think once you make this like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this. It almost becomes a chore. You see it as a different, it's almost like we have to reframe our paradigm, in that fitness should be fun and allows us to evolve into a person that we can become. And this is one of kind of my mantras, attitude of gratitude. And I love that, and that has always resonated with me. Working out is a gift. It's a reward to serving our bodies. So I always encourage people to serve others, but how do you serve yourself, right? How do you give back to yourself? How often are you doing or perhaps ensuing in habitual activity that's really taking time for self-care? And exercise is a core component to that. Okay. So I'm not going to dive deep on supplementation, but remember, as I said prior, I look at through the lens of performance. So my goal is, how do I get someone healthier faster? So when people come to see me, usually they're presenting with myriad of different issues. Supplementation is key to inducing that change. Okay? I want someone better yesterday. How do we get there faster? Supplementation is critical, because our nutrition, unfortunately, is not cutting it. So these are some of the supplements that we use as our foundational, non-negotiable supplements. Multivitamin, fish oil, vitamin D. Probiotic is interchangeable depending on what someone is presenting with. Microbial health and science is really evolving, and I'm excited for that frontier. And lastly is amino acids, which is protein. So let's just speak to protein very briefly, because I think there's an inadequate amount amongst all of us. And the RDA levels are for people on bed rest. So protein in Latin means prime importance. So when I program nutrition, protein reigns supreme. Much like weightlifting reigns supreme within exercise, protein reigns supreme within nutrition. What I encourage you guys to do is find out what protein levels you need. Why? Because that is going to feed muscle growth. The more muscle we have, the more we're preventing metabolic disease. The more muscle we have, the more that we're burning fat constantly. Okay? The more that we're going to set ourselves up to live a longer, healthier lifestyle. Go ahead. Oh, no question? Just stretching? Good. Okay. So, success stories. Just here's some success stories that I've had in the past with individuals. Hopefully, this is going to be something that perhaps inspires some of you to incite change, because I remember the goal today is to create change, right? And I hope you guys can take one point that resonates with you. And now we're going to get into some more of the exercise, because we're going to have some pictures. First client, Dawn, so you can see her success. I like getting results fast, sometimes faster than other. It depends on the compliance of the individual. But you're going to see some definitely massive changes in individuals within a very short amount of time. So we got a picture. We're going to do another exercise. So I'm going to invite you to stand up again. We're going to kind of raise the blood pressure a little bit here. So 27, this one, let's do jumping jacks, okay? So nice and easy here on my count. We ready? Let's do it together. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nice. Look at that. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Big smiles. 18, 19, 20. 7 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Wonderful. Hopefully that wasn't too painful for everybody. Let's go to our next success story here. I love this one, okay? Clients Sam and Julio. So couples that train together, stay together. We see this all the time. People are supporting each other. It's going back to that accountability. So let's see here. I believe Julio is, I think, on the top. Both of them were only training 2 times a week, and we're going to talk about what I consider is optimal later. 2 times a week, following a pretty regimented nutrition plan. The gentleman, he came to me with really high cortisol levels on statins. We got him off statins, reduced his cortisol levels to normal. He's in a much more healthier, as you can see on the right there, far less inflamed state with, in this case, little exercise. There wasn't much intervention, 2 times a week. Very easy. Something that is, again, very achievable and something that then becomes very sustainable. Okay, next exercise. We're going to do squats here. So back on our feet, all we're going to do is 27 air squats. Now, I want your feet to be at a comfortable distance. Typically, it's going to be hip width apart or slightly wider, okay? And I'm going to invite you to go down as low as you can, comfortably, okay? Exercise should be fun. It should be challenging as well, okay? Challenge creates change. So today, we're just doing body weight movements. But you should feel your heart racing a little bit, some more kind of heat generated, and increase kind of in the heaviness of your breath. So let's do 27. I'm going to start with the side, and then I'll come and face you. Okay, we ready? So we'll just put our hands here, cross right on the shoulders, 27 times, and we go down. 1, very good. 2, 3, 4, yes, I love it. 5, 6, good, now I'll face you. 7, good tempo. 8, 9, and the goal when we exercise, keep going here, 10, is not to rush through anything. 11, slow and controlled. I always suggest people to go fast in life, start by going slow, okay? Go slow to go fast. What are we at, 14? 15, very good. So whenever we are doing exercise, it's very tempo-based. There's a prescription for the tempo. The goal isn't to rush through everything and to see how fast we can get anything done. The goal is to understand where you want to feel it, what muscles you want to engage. So here you want core to stay tight, you want to feel your glutes as you're dropping down, and then you really want to feel your quads firing as you elevate back up. And I want you guys to try to stay as upright as possible, okay? So when I'm doing this, I'm thinking chin up, head up, and really keeping the spine nice and long and straight back. We always want to encourage healthy posture and proper technique. Let's do 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. Awesome. How are we feeling? Good, because we got a lot more pictures. The science stuff is important, but now we got exercise. All right. Upward and onward. So this gentleman came to me, and then he moved. So we did some online training with him. Lost 6% body fat in about 3 months, training 3 times a week, gained 6 pounds of muscle. His sleep was terrible, and he had some gut issues as well that we resolved. So you can see on the right, far, far, far less inflamed. Okay? Fat is inflammation. So we want to reduce adipose tissue, we want to reduce body fat. So not only do we look better, but we begin to feel a lot better. What's interesting about him is, so just funny note aside, his father called me one day, and he goes, "Hey, Daniel, you know what you did with my son? Can you do that with me?" His father is, I think, 65. I said, "Michael, yes, we can." All right. Oh, this was one of my favorite guys. So, golfer, dreams to play in the U.S. Open. Not sure if he'll get there, but talented individual. He was super inflamed, as you can see with the gut in the left picture. And this change was in 8 weeks, 2 months. That's it. 6% body fat loss. He did commit to training because he was really committed. He wanted to see a difference. when he came to me, he said, Daniel, I'm going to do exactly what you told me, okay? So I told him when to eat, when to sleep, how much exercise I want, what to supplement with. He was very compliant, and he got absolutely incredible results. As he continued, the results even got better, but this was just in 8 weeks. I mean, a substantial. He lost, it says here 6% body fat, but I think it was closer to 9 by the end of the 8 weeks. But incredible results. Okay, let's exercise again. So this time, let's do some push-ups. Ooh, okay, how are we going to do that? So for some of you, we can do it on the chairs. For some of you, we can do it on the walls. If you feel good enough, we can do it on the floor. Now, I typically like incline better than on the knees, but for demonstration purposes today, we can do it in this position here, okay? Or if permissible, we're going to do it in this position here, okay? We ready? So either on the ground or on the wall or on the chair, however you guys want to do it, okay? And we're going to begin. 1, try to get the chest all the way down to the floor. In the military, that's the only way you count it. 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, 9, 10, I love it. 11, 12, 13, halfway there. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 7 more. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That was wonderful. I like that one. Favorite one so far? All right. Let's go to the next one. Okay. So this lovely lady did online training. We lost 50 pounds in 5 months. Trained 3 times a week, strict nutrition. It's called a science because a lot of what we do is scientific in nature, right? These things don't just happen on their own, but with a proper prescription, anything is achievable. So with her, as you can see, and we still have some way to go, but I mean, you really transform someone's life. Okay, I need a new body part. Anyone? Which one? Huh? Okay, so this one is going to be partner-based. For these next 2, we'll do partner-based. So I want you to find a partner. You're going to hold your hands kind of in this position. So imagine you're doing kind of like a curl, targeting the bicep. So your partner is going to resist. So as you come up, they press down. And this is going to be an exercise for them too because you have to meet the resistance. So you're going to try to push up. Right? You're going to try to bring up 27 times. Okay? And then the partner, same thing. Push up. Okay? Let's do 13 and 13 for this one. So coming all the way down, start with your hands by your pockets. You're going to curl up. Your partner is going to resist. There you go. Yep, just like that. Yep, resist. There you go. Get those biceps firing. 13 times, and then you're going to switch. Your partner is going to perform 13. right. Awesome. We'll do the next. We'll combine a couple of these here. Adrian lost 40 pounds in 6 months. We'll combine these and we'll do a couple exercises in a row. Danielle lost 4% body fat in 8 weeks. Twice a week, she ran an Ironman race. Jim, love this guy. So the reason why I included this one, because exercise has no age boundary, right? Any age, never too late to start. By the end of it, he was doing chin-ups, no problem, body weights, got super strong with us. You can see a reduction in adipose around the belly, 4% body fat, training 2 times a week. Again, doesn't take much. Let's do a couple exercises, though. So we have those 3. I'll just show this last one, and then we're going to have 2 more that we're going to round out here. This gentleman lost 6% body fat, 6 weeks. So the principle for showing you guys this is just, you guys, anyone can do this, right? It's not like these people are uber special. It's with the right program, you can look and begin to feel your best. And what's really interesting is once you have the right program, it's incredible how good you start to feel. I have a girl that just came into me. She's got some autoimmune issues going on that we're working on, and she's moving in the right direction. And she just started training a couple of weeks ago. Right away, she's like, Daniel, I can't believe the energy I have. Okay. And then what really resonated with me is I put her on some supplements that we needed to support the autoimmune. And she said, I never knew what to live without bloat feels like. Too often is we move through the world with pain, and that's our new normal, right? So we register our body as, oh, okay, I have some pain, that's just normal, that's just for me. Or I have some kind of bloating going on, and that's okay, that just happens. These things are not normal, okay? My goal is, let's pursue optimal, right? We can do better, right? Let's find someone, or let's work together so that you guys pursue your best lives, right? We got one good shot at this. Let's make the best of it. So let's get back on the floor now. Let's do some exercise. Okay, this one, we're just going to do kind of some hip thrusts here. Ladies love this because it's targeting the glutes, right? So all you're doing is you're going to bring the glutes up to the sky, and then you're going to squeeze. So typically we'll provide some resistance here at the hip, but for today, all we're going to do is thrust up and squeeze. So you really want to feel the butt squeeze like heck. All right, ready? And let's begin. 1 and 2, good. Drive those hips high to the sky. And 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Really good squeeze here. 12, 13, 14. Good. Find those glutes. 15, 16, 17, 10 more. They really help support the base of the spine here, so they're critical to a good, healthy, strong back. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And keep lying down here. Well, actually, yes, keep lying down. So in that position with your knees bent, right? So your heels kind of toward the butt. What I want you to do, as your hips are high to the sky, okay, you're going to walk your feet out. And then you're going to walk your feet in. Okay, this one might be a little bit harder for some of you. So walk out to where you find a nice challenge, and then walk your feet back in. Okay, so your hips, keep them high to the sky though. Okay, and if you can, you walk them all the way out, and then you walk them all the way in. Now, I also want you on your heel. Okay, so your toes are pointing up to the sky as well. That's easier? Okay, there you go. And we're going to do 13 each leg here. Good. Keep going here on your own, 13 each leg. Heels all the way into the butt, hips high to the sky, and slowly walking out with our feet. If you want toes down, awesome. I'm doing mine toes up. All the way. Walking our feet out. Let's do 2 more. 1 each leg. And good. Awesome. Sit up for me, but we're going to stay on the floor because I think we went through 4 people, so we got 2 more exercises here. Okay, next 2, we're going to do some core. So for the first one, we actually sit up here like so, okay? Brush and twist. So if permissible, you're going to remove your heels off the ground, you're going to tighten your abs, and then you're going to touch on both sides, okay? We're going to touch 13 both sides. Now, if that's too difficult, you can keep your heels on the ground, but I encourage you to challenge yourself. So all you're going to do, completely twist the torso, make sure the core is tight, nice and contracted, and you're going to touch both sides, 13 each side. Now, remember, I like slow and controlled, okay? The goal isn't who can perform this the fastest. The goal is if you can feel the muscle you're exercising, okay? That's the mind-muscle connection that's really going to help strengthen you faster. Everything should be intent-driven. That's training. Okay? At some point, the hip flexors are going to burn out here too, so you get a 2 for 1. Let's go 2 more each side.
Why is going on the right side hard for me? Going on the right is very hard.
So you have some sort of a blockage there, but it could be a compensation from the left side. So uncertain until I evaluate you, but don't push through the pain today, but acknowledge there's something going on there that probably needs to be addressed, right? We should, when we're doing these movements, the body should feel nimble. The body should be pliable. It's good that you're acknowledging that. That's very good. That's the first step. The next is, how do we fix it? That's where professional comes in. Okay, next one. We're going to be on our backs, okay? And one of my favorite core exercise, okay, we're going to do is, let's do a little more advanced one today because you guys are awesome. All right, so we're going to have knees 90 degrees up, and you're going to lengthen one leg and touch your elbow to your knee, and then repeat to the other one. The other leg does not come down. Keep your back flat on the ground the whole time. Your back should not lift up, okay? So make sure your core is contracted. We're going to do 13 each side. So it's a bicycle, but it's slow and controlled at my tempo. So it goes 1 and 1 and 2 and 2. You lengthen the opposite leg, and the knee and the elbow connect. 3 and 3. Slow and steady wins the race. Really make sure the back is completely flat on the ground. 4 and 4. 5 and 5. 8 more. 6 and 6. Keep the back nice and flat. Core should really be on fire now. And good. 8. Let's go 5 more. If your abs hurt, you're doing it right. 9. No back here. 10 and 10. 3 more. And don't think about rounding your neck. Really bring that knee to the elbow. 1 and 1. Very good. Awesome job. Let's all sit up. Give ourselves a round of applause, but we still got a couple more. All right. Oh, I see they weren't switched, but that's okay. Here's a female who came to me this is a really interesting story because she has, without diving too deep into her history, she was a very kind of introverted person, didn't really like dealing with people, working with people, and I convinced her to do a bikini competition. Long and behold, she actually won. Now, this took a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Believe me, it is not easy, okay? But this effectively transformed her life. Now she works with people. This is how crazy it is. We had an individual who never thought in a million years she could win any sort of a competition, never thought she could impact someone else's life, and now she is a tremendous inspiration of change in others, right? And this is what happens when we exercise. We don't know where the journey takes us, but definitely enjoy the ride, right? It can transform you, and that can become a platform to transform someone else. Last one here. This was a pretty big transformation. 45 pounds in 3 months. That's a lot. That is a lot. 12 weeks, that's it. That's it. Sometimes that's all it takes. If you're committed to change, it's incredible what we can achieve, right? We are potential beyond belief. I believe in all of you the same. So I encourage you guys to try to make some sort of a change that's going to speak to you. So we had 2 pictures. Let's do 2 more exercises. Any last 2 that you guys want to see? Any body parts, anything in particular? I'm going to leave this up to you. Anything that you guys like, anything that you want? Anything fun? Lower back. So lower back is awesome. Most people present with lower back issues. Usually that's because we're leading sedentary lives, and we typically find that that's a shortening of your psoas and iliopsoas muscles in your front. So if you can unwind this goes away. But to strengthen lower back is absolutely critical. Now, in our location, we're doing a lot of rows, okay? Horizontal rows. That's going to be great. Difficult without a band, difficult without a pulley. When you're performing the squat, as we did, the strengthening of your glutes is really going to help the support of the base of the spine. So that's another awesome one. But for lower back, since you asked for it, and then I'm going to do one last one, we're going to do farmer carries. So farmer carries, single arm. It targets quadratus lumborum, the QL, which is exactly the lower back that you're looking for. So what you're going to do, each of you, you're going to grab one chair. And now we're going to be mobile. So if you're at home, grab something heavy in one arm, okay? And what you're going to do is we're just going to walk. So I encourage you guys to either walk maybe the length of the room here in one arm and then the length back. So how you're going to do it is nice and tall, just like in the military, standing nice and tall, chin tucked. So you have it. So you're reinforcing a nice posture. Your opposing arm is going to come directly out to the side, and I want you to think of this weight in the chair kind of right by your side here, and you're just going to kind of walk straight, okay? The heavier the weight, you're going to feel it more in the QL, but this might be a good weight for all of you guys, and just one side, okay? And then when we get to the end, you're going to drop the weight, but make sure not until you get to the end of the room, and then you're going to perform the same thing on the other side. So drop the weight, turn around, and then switch the hand, okay? And then you're going to do the same thing. So critical, nice tall posture, chin tucked. And then safely drop the weight. And do the same thing on the other side. So when I do it, I always, when I doing it with my clients, I have them, they walk, they don't do anything else, they drop the weight safely, they turn around, grab the weight with the other hand, and perform the same thing. Now, if you want, as you advance, you can drop that arm by your side, lift heavier weight, but make sure that those shoulders are aligned and not one side is not drooping. Okay? That is one of the best exercises to strengthen the QL, or the lower back there. Yeah, it looks very good. Looks very good. See? Something as simple as just grabbing a chair. Who knew, huh? Very nice. Very, very nice. And challenge yourselves. Okay? So next time, maybe it's 2 chairs, right? Maybe it's something slightly heavier. Every time you want to progress just a little bit, that's when those metabolic adaptations happen. Last exercise is because most of us are in a forward head posture, and I really, really, really want to enforce that nice, tall, chin back, shoulders back posture. So we're going to do some extensor work. So all you're going to do is put your hand behind the back of your head at the base here, and then you're going to press in, okay? So working now on your extensors here, and you're going to do that how many times? 27. Okay? And you can do both hands. And I really want you to think about squeezing this chin down and back. Okay? So you should feel this coming in. Okay? So you're coming back, so you're reinforcing the kind of backward head posture. Instead of this, what we're doing every day today, these days, right? Everything is back here. Hands are in, shoulders are internally rotated. This is not healthy posture. This leads to pain. We want to open everything up. So we're coming back here, and we're doing 27 of these neck squeezes here. Why? Because our neck has muscles too, guys. So 27 times, really squeezing back here. And make it, again, intent-driven. So I want you to feel kind of levator scap, splenius capitis back through here. Contract. You should feel kind of fire in the back of your neck there. And kind of really squeezing hard, okay? But from back here, not at the front. 27 times. Let's go 5 more. 3, 4, 5. How'd that feel? Awesome. All right. Final thoughts. So people come to me, Daniel, what's your recipe for optimal health? What's your recipe for longevity? How many times do I need to be exercising? What do I need to do? So some principles that I adhere to. 3, 4, 5. When people ask about exercise, how many times should you exercise? And remember, I established the difference between exercise and training, right? For me, there's a fundamental difference. Exercise is kind of movement. Training is intent, right? There's a goal. It speaks to the specific individual's needs. 3, 4, 5. Strength training reigns supreme. We discussed that. The how, the why. So I like strength training. When someone says, okay, how many times do I need to do this? For me, 3 is minimum, 4 is the sweet spot, 5 is optimal. What does that look like? Figure out 3 hours of the week out of 168, 3 hours of the week that you take time to prioritize you and train with weights, with resistance, especially, as I said, critical to women as they age, but definitely men as well. 3 hours out of the week. To me, that's the minimum, okay? 4 for me is a sweet spot, 5 is optimal, but 3 hours out of 168. I don't think that's much, but that's a good start, right? 10-90, life is 10% action, 90% reaction, okay? Today, you took the time on a Sunday. I took the time on my Sunday as well to be here. I hope you guys have something to take away from this. 10% action, 90% reaction. So everything effectively is how you react to it, what you make of it. What did you learn today? What did you take out of this? What kind of little tricks, tips, habits that you can distill and make your own, right? So if something happens in our life, how do we react to it? That's kind of the premise there is our choice, how we'd respond. So I hope that today this was rewarding and you guys respond positively to this. Blood testing, I think that's critical just to get a good starting point, understand what's happening on a cellular level. That's often overlooked, right? Going back to generational health, right? And practicing preventative medicine rather than sick medicine. Get a blood test, understand what's happening on a cellular level, and recovery. We live very, 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 very stressed lives, right? So taking time to unwind, take 5 deep breaths, 15 chews per bite, slow down, enjoy time in nature, enjoy time with friends, enjoy time here with the community you built. Take time to do you, to laugh a little bit more, to love a little bit more, to give back. How do you begin? So, as I started off, I hope that this is going to incite change. Challenge creates change. That's my mantra. Okay? Do something every day that challenges you. Something, whatever speaks to you. So for me is I have certain goals, like to read a certain amount, to check in with my parents. So do something every day that kind of speaks to you, but something that challenges you, that's going to constantly keep this sharp. Yeah? That's one component, and then the other is this component too. Keep your physique sharp as well. Defining your purpose, going back to that P, I think that's often overlooked. So what's your reason for waking up every morning, right? Who are the people in your life that you love, that you want to spend time with, that you care about, and doing things for you, right? Not always doing something for somebody else. That makes us feel good, but also treating ourselves. 10,000 steps a day. So going back to the physical component, that's a very low-hanging fruit. That goes back to exercise and movement. So out of these transformations, that's one of my non-negotiables. Everyone has to walk 10,000 steps a day. Does anyone know how far that is?
5 miles.
Very good. Very good. 5 miles indeed. So how many people are walking that much? Not a lot. Why? Because we wake up, probably go to the kitchen, which is steps away from our bedroom. Then we go to the car, which is steps away from the kitchen. Then we drive to the job, and you're going to a desk to sit down all day, and then drive back home, back to the kitchen, back to the bed. There's not much movement there, right? And then we kind of scratch our head, why is illness rising? Why are we kind of metabolically unhealthy? So 10,000 steps, that's a minimum. What does that entail? Walking out in nature. Love it, love it. Get barefoot. Okay, the ground is very healing. Mother Earth. Exercise, that incorporates that. That's a very easy way to get those steps in daily. And then tracking metrics, because how do you know how you're improving, right? I look through the lens of performance, which matters, I think. But in general, if you want to be healthy, you have to track certain things to understand where you're getting to, right? And that goes back to designing the system to set you up for success. So with that, I believe that is it.
What do you do? What do you replace walking 10,000 steps if you have some physical disability? In my case, I have problem with my knee.
Yeah.
I used to run a lot for 20 years, and it's very difficult. I love running, that I cannot. Even walking is painful to me.
So overuse is typically a problem of misuse, and there's going to be some sort of strength imbalance that we have to fix to get you walking again. I had a client who, she came into me, and this is how she walked. When you're talking about pain, she went to an orthopedic said you need surgery for a knee replacement, okay? She was walking like this. And this is not hyperbole, this was how she walking. And I have video on my phone I can show, document. That's how she was walking. I think it was probably 6 weeks later, she was walking like this. Okay? How does that happen? So the body as a whole, when we treat an individual, we need to look at the whole, right? So the knee pain, it could be a product of something else. So when I say I start with the feet and I work my way up, okay, because there's going to be some sort of strength imbalances there. So I don't like the word can't. If there's a doctor that ever says you can't do something, it's time to find another doctor. If you tell yourself I can't do something, that's gonna be your paradigm. So my goal is to see, okay, what is happening that we can address and fix to get you walking. And I told that woman who was walking like this, because she said, Daniel, I love to run. It would be a dream of mine to run again. She never thought that would happen. 8 weeks later, she was on a beach in Florida. She sent me a video of her jogging. Okay? It is definitely achievable. We need to sometimes hire help, okay? Sometimes we need to get out of our own way, but we definitely need to hire help and address what's happening so that we can fix that. Now, if there is something that's impeding you from doing that, which I don't know what that would be, in my practice, I've never seen I never had it with anyone that I wasn't able to, at the bare minimum, get walking correctly again. And that's the bare minimum. If you love running, let's get you jogging again. How soon, how fast, depends how resilient you are, but certain things may take time, doesn't mean it can't happen, right? So I think we have to look at what are certain things that we can do that can change that. So looking at sleep, looking at our stress, looking at nutrition, because those things control how fast we can heal as well. So it's difficult to say in perhaps your circumstance, but there's a lot of things within your guys' control that you can integrate healthier habits to become a healthier you.
I have two questions for you. I'll ask them one at a time. One is, if a person is kind of more prone to social anxiety, or they don't really have friends who could maybe spot them if they were doing something with any kind of heavy weights, what exercises would you recommend for them that they could do safely while they're alone?
So first I want to address the social anxiety, because that's so off that I think that's the root of or perhaps could be one of the roots of the question there. So the space we work at is a private facility, so people feel very comfortable. And I think that, again, getting in our way, people often think that, okay, I have anxiety, so I can't do this, or that. And exercise is one tool to help reduce that. Let's look at microbial health, perhaps, to correct that. So there's ways to first address the social anxiety component, right? Because then they can actually work out perhaps in a group and understand, wow, this is transformative, right? Or perhaps they can find someone to coach them, like a trainer, and hold them accountable and make sure they progress. And I've seen that all the time. And the individual, for example, who won the bikini competition, I told you, she came to me and she was fearful of life. Like, she had a very traumatic youth, didn't want to work with people, wouldn't say a word to anyone, walks with her head down, very not confident. So first, let's address kind of the root of what's happening. But if they are diametrically opposed to being in a social setting, which I think is incongruent with our biology, because we, I think, evolved in communities, right? So that's why this place is so awesome. You guys have built a community here. So if they're really, really, really diametrically opposed to that, your question is kind of what like body weight exercises they could do at home. So we developed an at-home routine. This isn't a plug necessarily for me, but we've developed a at-home routine with demonstration of how exercises should be done. Because what happens is when I just say, okay, let's do some air squats, let's do some jumping jacks, let's do some push-ups, unfortunately, people are not doing it properly. And so what happens is, so going back to his question, it's not an overuse issue, it's a misuse issue. And that's why people get injured. So during COVID, what we saw is not only did this impact people here adversely, a lot of people were coming in more injured, actually. Okay? They would come in more injured because they were doing things at home and not realizing that they're doing it properly. So it's the misuse. And then we have to now unwind and figure out, okay, let's get them healthier again, and so you can do things properly. But going back to YouTube, I don't like referencing that, but if you didn't want to kind of utilize what we can offer, going to YouTube and body weight exercise is a good way to start, but making sure you're doing things correctly. I like things that are more compound in nature. So you like the movement of the squat pattern, the push-up pattern, body weight movement, and that kind of stuff. That would be a good place to start. Did I answer that?
Yes, thank you. And this one might be kind of partially answered based off what you just said, but what are exercises a person could do if they don't have a lot of money or time to spare for like fitness training or going to an actual proper facility?
So if they don't have money or time, okay. These are two very interesting components because we see that all the time. And the money component is, it was interesting. And this was one of the best compliments I ever received, not to boost my horn. She said, Daniel, I'm working overtime to afford you. And I said, wow, that is quite profound. But she made that a priority. So it's not about that she needs to afford me. She's making training her priority, right? So too often is we have just kind of skewed priorities, and we don't prioritize exercise, or we don't prioritize investing in ourselves, whether that's our education, whether that's exercise science, whatever the training, et cetera. So usually I find that's just a priority issue. We had one of the women, I don't have it on this slide, we're doing these 6 weeks transformation programs. She opened up a credit card just to do our transformation program. She didn't have the money, unemployed. After 6 weeks, she lost 21 pounds, okay? She is now employed and making almost double the income than before, because what happened is this changed. Her confidence improved, her energy improved. She's now a more productive individual in life. So I'm not trying to kind of skew that question. It's usually I find it's a priority thing above anything else. And it doesn't mean you don't value it necessarily. But if someone is opposed to hiring someone, then I think the only route is going at it on your own, just like on Dr. Google or YouTube. And again, I'm not undermining that by any stretch. There's a lot of value there. There's a lot of free content that you can utilize, and that's absolutely awesome. I think there's so much education that can be derived at our fingertips right now, right? But there does come its challenges when you don't hire a professional. I always joke around that with taxes, it's like one year I tried to file my own taxes. Naturally, I was a lot younger at the time, and I wanted to save money. Okay, that was the only time I had to pay a lot more in my taxes when I did it myself, rather than hiring a professional. Right? That's their expertise. So now I understand the importance of finding help sometimes, and that's okay. The time component is, that's why I said 3 hours and 168. So it goes back to priorities, right? If you don't brush your teeth every day, what happens? Yeah, your teeth are eventually going to rot and fall out of our face, right? So we prioritize brushing our teeth. What about prioritizing our bodies, right? If we prioritize gratitude, or prioritize prayer, or prioritize this community here, exercise is another priority. It has to be if you want to lead a healthier, stronger life.
Awesome, thank you. Any other questions for Daniel? All right, looks like we're all set, and then I'll come over here so our online audience can see who's talking, not just a disembodied voice. So thank you everyone for joining. We are done with today's event, so one more round of applause for Daniel, please. And as far as our next event goes, we're actually taking a bit of a break in January, but we will be back in February with our next cooking class and then with a full calendar of events up ahead. So stay tuned. You can follow us on our meetup page, or you can follow this YouTube channel for more information. But as always, stay safe, and thank you for watching and joining us today.